Hey everyone, this is Steve Orlando, and you're listening to the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.
Greetings, Cap fans, and welcome to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. It's actually episode 203, and I'm your host, Rick Verbanis. As always, I'm joined by the best gosh darn co-host out there, Mr. Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob, did I ever show you my giant-sized man thing?
You've talked about it so much, but I don't recall you ever showing it to me.
No? No. I'll have to whip it out one of these days.
please, please do. I bet it's quite a spectacle.
Yes, absolutely. You've heard me talk about that story before, right?
I think so. I think refresh my memory though. I think I want to hear it
We
again.
definitely talked about it in episode 95, where we had John Soule, Doug Hogan, and Seth Talley on, which was basically a Rick roast, if you will. It was two of my better customers in my comic book store and my uh, I'll just say my favorite employee. But anyway, so yeah, we had them on the show, and one of the things is I told the story so much more detail in episode 95. You want to check that out. But we did have an issue of giant sized man thing. So back in the day, I want to say the 70s, that they had these special one shots, and so sometimes they were annuals, but sometimes they would do outside of annuals, and they would call them giant size, and so it would be giant size Fantastic Four, giant size Avengers, or whatever. And so
Mhm.
the Man Thing series got one, and it was called Giant Size Man Thing. So I had this issue behind the counter, and that was the running joke. It was,
Yes.
do you want to see my giant size man thing? And then I would whip it out.
As an industry professional, Rick,
Uh-huh.
can I ask you a technical question? Because this has always sort of bugged me that I couldn't quite answer this. But is a giant size man thing bigger or smaller than a king size man thing?
Mm. Well, I personally haven't seen a king size man thing, Bob, so I couldn't compare the two side by side.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair enough. That's fair
Yeah.
enough. Well, something to keep your eyes open for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them maybe uh have more girth to it,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um and it depends on how many people worked on it.
Yes. Yeah. That's always a consideration.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Bob, why are we talking about man things?
Because we're going to be talking about the man thing tonight, Rick.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in 2021, there was a couple of special one shots that tied in with this over encompassing story of Curse of the Man Thing. And so there were different parts where it tied in with other characters in the Marvel universe because it was beyond just the Florida Everglades, right? This was a story that uh, went beyond the typical Man Thing story. And so the first one shot we're doing is Avengers Curse of the Man Thing. And it has a lot of Captain America in it, which is one of the reasons we picked it out. And the other reason we picked it out is because the writer is Steve Orlando. And it just so happens that Steve Orlando will be our special guest next episode. So we thought we'd get a little, reconnaissance in on some of the work that he's done, and so we could talk to him about
Thank goodness. I thought you were going to say a taste of the man thing. So,
it.
but this is really I'm glad you picked this one because as you said we're want to do some stuff for Steve, but it's also a pretty cool book and pretty cool story, and as you noted, it does have quite a bit of Cap in it, and it's got some interesting shall we say cameos.
Yes,
So
we shall say
definitely
that.
a
Yes.
pretty cool story to go over.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll get that to it soon. Anything new going on with you, Bob?
Jeez, no, I can't think of anything, Rick. Life
Summer's
just
wrapping up.
Summer is wrapping up very, very quickly. I can't believe, Rick, it is almost September, and it got away from me. Once again, I didn't achieve the beach body I was hoping for,
Hmm.
and so I'm going to be working on that harvest body.
Ah,
Yeah.
Bob, we're going to become empty nesters, my wife and I,
Wow.
because my
Yeah.
son, who graduated college, a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
he um, is back on tour.
Yeah.
He's touring as the lead character. If anybody wants to check it out, if you have little ones,
Mhm.
Blippy is a phenomenon with little ones.
Yeah.
Just think of, oh, I don't know, the Wiggles, back in the day or whatever. Like,
Yeah. You're right.
like for preschoolers, Blippy is the bleep.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that, right? And my son has been playing the Blippy character, and he toured last spring, March through June, and he did 85 cities in 4 months. And then now he's about to do another tour. He kicks off mid-September, and then my daughter is now a freshman in college. She's off at college, so I mean,
Wow.
Meg and I are home. It's just the two
Yeah.
of us.
That's right.
Uh,
It's like a clothing optional resort.
well, that's true. And here's the funny thing is like all summer I was like, I'm trying to watch what I eat. I am trying to
Yeah.
lose weight, but I'm not good job at it.
Yeah.
And so I know we need to get the snacks out of the house. Like, got to get the
Oh,
chips out of the house.
the chips. Yeah.
It's the Lord's chips. We
Yes.
need to
Yeah, I know.
we need to get those out of the house. We need to get all these salty snacks out of the house because it just you come home from work, you're hungry, and you're just like it's gonna be a little while for dinner. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
grab some of these.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been looking forward all summer for my kids to go away so we could get the chips out of the house.
Yeah. All right. By the way, for all our listeners out there that didn't catch that, I greatly appreciated the Nacho Libre call out there because one of my favorite movies of all time. A movie that if I'm flipping through the channels and that one is on, I'm stuck there for the duration. I will not get up. So yeah, it's one of
I'm
those
gonna
things.
have to watch it one of these days.
Oh my gosh, you haven't seen it?
No, I told you that before. I haven't seen it.
Really?
No.
I thought by now you would have checked it out, Rick. I mean, I
Oh, with
told
all
you
my copious free time,
how
Bob.
important it was to me. Love that movie. Great. I would do that Halloween costume if I could pull it off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No,
Well,
I'm
you
serious. It's Lycra. I don't think I can pull it off. So I got it
well,
on.
you've got a pretty cool costume coming up, right? I mean, you're going to be
Yeah.
cheerleaders,
Yeah,
you and your wife?
we're gonna be the Spartan cheerleaders from SNL. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Who's
uh,
that talking in the mic? It's Rick. It's Rick. Yeah, I can't wait.
that won't get old.
No.
All right. And so Bob, not only is it, if you're listening on the day it's come out, August 28th, which is, the end of August and almost Labor Day, but, there's some birthdays coming up and, for some comic book creators out there, including a few that have worked on Captain America. So I thought I'd shout out to Gene Colan,
Oh
who
my goodness.
birthday is on September 1st.
Yeah. Legend.
He is. Yeah, he took over Cap right after Jack Kirby and Steranko. And so it was the Gene Colan run on there. And he also came back and he did a very special issue for 601 back when
Yeah.
Cap like redid its numbering. And it was I think it was issue 601 is what he came back and did that. And we did that panel by panel on episode 160 if anybody wants to check that out. Also on September 1st, Gene's not alone. He has to share his birthday with Joe Jusko.
All right. Yeah. All
You
right.
got a
Another.
couple of variant covers by him, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Came out with a great one a couple of years ago for I can't even remember now what series that was. Was it no, it wasn't Sentinel of Liberty. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what series that was.
Hmm.
No, nope, don't know. Don't know.
Okay,
Yeah. Great cover
but
though.
you have it. I don't.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
And then we also the next day, September 2nd, is Walt Simonson. So happy birthday to Gene, Joe, and Walt.
I love birthdays, Rick. I don't like getting older, but I like the whole concept of birthdays. Mostly
You,
the
what kind of celebrations do you do at your house? Is it a day? Is it a week? Is it, I know some people do like, we're celebrating your birthday month. Like,
oh my.
what do you do?
No, no. I mean, it's strictly the day, right? And I have to admit, for my son and my wife, we kind of do it up a little bit. I make sure we got the banners up and
Hmm.
get up and and put the crush paper and the cake, the whole 9 yards, the presents. I'm more of I like a pie. I'm a pie guy.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're giving a description of all these different things,
Uh huh.
and to describe you're doing in addition, like there's a whole bunch of other things,
Yeah.
you use the expression the whole 9 yards.
See, I'm a quick learner, Vic.
This would have been a good time, Bob, to
Yeah.
use what was the expression you
I
used?
can't even remember. I don't even know what I said. Whole kit and
Uh,
caboodle.
no. It was oh gosh, it was something
I
that
know you gave me a hard
nothing.
time about that in that episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're talking about your son's football.
I was mixing metaphors.
You
Yeah,
totally were, yeah. All right.
yeah.
All right.
The whole schmeal. No, I don't know. Yeah, who knows what it was? But yes, good catch though. Rick. Thank you. But I'm trying to learn. You're a good influence on me.
Well, I don't know about that. Uh, all right, Bob, should we get into today's
Yeah, we
episode?
probably should.
All right. All right. So today, as I mentioned, we are covering Avengers Curse of the Man Thing. And it is a three-part story. We're only covering the first part, which is the Avengers. And then there are other parts as well. But this is the one we want to focus on because it has Captain America in it. It had a release date of March 31st, 2021. So that's 3.5 years ago. Hard to believe. And a cover date of May 2021. The cover was done by Daniel Acuna, which if you remember, he was the artist that did the Avengers Twilight series. And then written by, as I mentioned before, Steve Orlando, penciler by, and it was also inked, so pencils and inks by Francesco Mobili. Francesco. It's just fun to say.
It is fun to say. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know the reference to what I'm talking about?
I don't know. No.
That was speaking of Will Ferrell.
Uh huh.
You were doing a little Will Ferrell earlier.
Yeah.
In the movie The Elf, he was
That's
like
right.
Francesco, Francesco.
Yeah.
Not making fun of the name. It
No,
is fun to say.
it is fun to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good movie.
The colorist, never heard of this before. It's obviously like a group or whatever, but it's Guru Effects.
It's actually not, Rick.
Not
That's
what?
actually it's not a group.
All right. Well, who is Guru
Well,
Effects?
I can't remember his name, but I looked it up because I was like, huh, is this like one of the Guru Hero? Because you're familiar with Guru Hero, the two women artists, and so the Captain America, the First Avenger, which is a one shot, great little story. They did the art on that, and it's two Japanese women who to work together, and together they go by Guru Hero. They also did. I don't know if you ever saw that graphic novel, Superman versus the Klan or the Ku
Nope.
Klux Klan. Great graphic novel. And they did the art for that as well. So I thought it might have been one of them. So I just did a quick look, and it turns out it's a guy, and he just goes by this handle sometimes.
Well, I did not know that. First of all, I'd never heard of it um, before. But I'm just looking it up now,
Mhm.
and on marvelfandom.com, it says Guru Effects is a multi-talented individual who has been working in the comic book industry at various jobs since 1995. Starting out doing coloring and inking, then moving on to penciling, writing, and finally becoming an editor. Well, how about that?
Well, there you go. It has his name. You want to give a shot at pronouncing that name, Rick? I think it's a Polish or some Eastern
No,
European
I
name.
really don't.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Walking,
No.
yeah, who knows? I can't, and I apologize to Guru, but anyway, he does great work.
Uh, he goes by. I mean, well, it says you pronounced it Walken,
Yeah,
Jochen.
I don't know. I'm just taking a
But his
stab at it.
pseudonym is Joe.
Oh, well, that's easy.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right, Joe.
that's easy.
Yeah.
Moving back to the creators on this book, the letterer is Clayton Cowles, and editor is Tom Groneman. All right, so Bob. Oh, do you want to hear the solicitation?
I sure do.
Burn at the touch of the harrower. Critically acclaimed writer Steve Orlando makes his Marvel debut with a blockbuster celebration of Man Thing's 50th anniversary. For decades, the Man Thing has haunted the Florida Everglades. Now, a new enemy has hijacked his body on a quest to take his incendiary abilities global. We wake to fear as gargantuan monoliths menace cities worldwide, with only the Avengers standing between the population of Earth and a planet wide inferno. Can they save Man Thing in time to douse the fires? And does the man inside the thing, Ted Sallis, even want to be saved? Introducing a sensational new villain, the Harrower.
Ooh, that sounds exciting, Rick.
It does.
Yeah.
Bob, why don't you take the listeners through the cover?
All right. I love this cover, Rick, because it reminds me of my office. And by office, I mean where I actually work on a daily basis. So, I live down here in Southwest Florida on the edge of the Everglades. And so what we see here on the cover is in fact the some of the members of the Avengers. So we've got Captain America and Captain Marvel and Black Panther, She-Hulk, and Thor, and they are in the Florida Everglades. So they're clearly in a swamp, and they are surrounded by, of course, swampy trees because that's what a swamp is. In the foreground, we see an alligator with these glowing red eyes. So seen plenty of those, and in the trees, lots and lots of very large spiders.
Very large.
Very large, yeah. But looming up behind them is the Man Thing himself or himself itself, whatever, the Man Thing.
Uh-huh.
And again, with these great glowing red eyes. And so it's a little bit of a spooky cover, right? I mean, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a scary place here. And they got the Man Thing. It looks like the Man Thing's like sneaking up on him. So great cover by Daniel Acuna.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. If you're a Man Thing fan, it does have a really cool creepiness to it. And I have to correct you because I corrected myself before this.
Mm-hmm.
You said She-Hulk. It's not the She-Hulk.
Oh, it's not.
No, she's
Oh.
just referred to as the Hulk during
Oh,
this time period.
oh, interesting. Thank
I,
you.
I don't know what happened to Bruce Banner's Hulk during all
Yeah.
this, but she's referred to as the Hulk, and she also doesn't have the normal Jennifer Walters smarts.
Oh,
So she kind of talks as like a dumb Hulk a little bit.
okay. Interesting.
It,
Interesting.
it was interesting. So, if any of our listeners want to maybe in Facebook or in the comments, on YouTube or whatever, want to give us a good story to read, like to explain this, if
Mhm.
you know anything about She-Hulk becoming Hulk and becoming, I don't want to say dumb, but she is talking like the dumb Hulk, but it is interesting.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Good. Yeah. I'd be very curious.
All right. On the inside, Bob, there is it has all the credits, and then it also explains, kind of sets up the story. Would you like to read that?
I sure would, Rick. The Avengers: Black Panther, Captain Marvel, the Hulk, Thor, Ghost Rider, Captain America, Blade, Iron Man, Earth's mightiest heroes. Together they've fought against evil and saved the world countless times. The Man Thing, a strange, silent, supernatural swamp creature who guards an interdimensional portal known as the Nexus of all realities. Those who fear will burn at his touch. But a new threat plans to use the swamp god's unique powers to burn the entire world. Can the Avengers stop this nightmare, or will the heroes burn with fear?
And I like the logo, Avengers Curse of the Man Thing. It really is like reminiscent of a real classic old logo. We're talking like 50s black and white kind of horror movies, because the font is like dripping, and it's really, really cool. And then the story is actually split up by chapters. And so each one, it'll say chapter 1 or whatever, and then have the title to that chapter. And then it's separating the stories or the chapters by an image, and we're seeing an up close eye of the Swamp Thing.
Or the Man Thing, Rick.
Oh, I said Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not the first.
No, I know, right?
All right, so we open up to a half-page splash, and we're seeing a young, fit lady. Bob, I know you like to describe the ladies. Do you want to take our listeners through what she looks like?
Sure, Rick. She's got what appears to be, a full body skin tight suit. What do they call those? What are the bodysuit? I guess, right? I mean, that's the technical term. And in this case, it's a sort of a lightish blue, maybe a teal. I don't know. But it's got some cutouts, right? So some cutouts over the hips, cutouts over the shoulders, and then of course her arms from the upper arms down are a white, but they have red stripes, vertical, horizontal angled stripes. So it's not a anything like I've seen before on a character. But she's also she's young. We could tell that she's probably like early 20s, maybe, at least from appearances. And she has very long blonde hair, and she has very pale skin, almost whitish. And her eyes have a certain reddish gleam to them as well. So she certainly doesn't look healthy, but she looks young and she looks strong.
Yeah, she kind of looks like like a white rabbit, with those white rabbits with the red eyes, kind of.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, but no fur.
Yeah. No.
And she's standing there looking very stern, and she has her arms by her side, but she has clenched fists. And she's in a how would you describe the room that she's in?
Yeah, it appears to be a laboratory of some sort, because we see a number of liquid contained cylinders with skeletal matter in them. But we also see a lot of plant matter around. So there's a lot of biomass in different pots and jars, and there's vines hanging from the ceiling. So it's clearly
And glowing tubes.
glowing tubes. It's some sort of laboratory where they're doing something with plant life and maybe animal life as well.
It's called the Substratum, underground lab of horticulture. Zealot botanists, aggressive bioengineers, solid with macrame. This is what you bring us, Harriet. It's harrower, Aunt Augusta. Great, Aunt. But this idea of yours, I thought that greatness skipped a generation, but maybe it skips two. How can you say that? This is all you've ever taught me. We taught you to keep humanity at a manageable size, not remove it from the ecosystem. Everything has a role in the biome. But when an invasive species grows out of control, we're the ones to trim it back. That's science. That's logic. Not whatever this is that you've done to yourself. Don't you see this is over the line? Over the line? Managing humans just kicks the can down the road. It won't change their behavior. I can wipe them off the board. After a few billion years of natural selection, another species gets a shot at the top. That selection's not natural. It's yours. And another lady speaks up. Not to mention, it's mass murder, dear. I read your abstract. The spellification you have done, biofission and biofusion. It's magic. Magic is unreliable. Science is predictable. We like that. Merging plants and animals the way you want isn't natural, Harriet. It's unpredictable. And it's a no. You're all cowards. Not every opportunity can be predicted. The man thing is a chance to make real change, all because Ted Sallis' work blew up in his face unpredictably. Here's a guy who quits teaching and drags his family to the Everglades. Also, he's got his privacy to work on SO2, his shot at recreating the super soldier serum. The job consumed him so much, his own wife sold him out to AIM. You can thank our treaty with them for all of this. Salas burned his notes and ran, injecting himself with the only SO2 sample. He died in a car wreck. The swamp's supernatural waters mixed it with the serum in his veins, and his husk rose again. And that's what we're seeing here, Bob. We're seeing the backstory to the creation of Man-Thing.
Yeah, it's a great full page splash because it covers everything you just basically recounted, the different steps in Salas's backstory and the origin of Man-Thing.
Salas' tragedy could have been our success, Augusta. Now it'll be mine, while your projects keep circling the drain. The Man-Thing is all but a god, born of both magic and science. What I build from his corpse will be stronger than both. A corpse my spellification will let me mold to my needs. So sit back, and when the skies light up, remember, you spinsters could have been there. And she taps her forehead, and there's a big flash of light, and she disappears. And there's nothing but a little smoke residue that she leaves behind. She's dangerous. She's young, Edith. Pandora was young. Ooh, that seems like a story we don't know about, Bob.
You don't know Pandora? Pandora's box?
I know the story, but I'm just saying like Pandora was part of this group. It sounds like that sounds like a story worth exploring someday, don't you think?
Oh, might be. Would you like a little background on Pandora?
Can you do it in 30 seconds or less?
Well, in Greek mythology, Rick, Pandora was was the first human created by Hephaestus. Yeah, and she was given a box, and in the box, which she was
What's
told,
in the box?
what's in the box, right? She was told not to open this box, but her curiosity got the best of her, and when she opened that box, all the curses of evil flew out into the world. So sickness and death and suffering and all those sort of hatred and jealousy, all those things flew out of the box. And that's why we have those things in the world.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, Pandora.
Yeah.
And here I just thought it was a way to listen to music.
I think an easier way is curiosity killed the cat. It's shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's many ways to skin a cat, Bob.
Ooh. My cat didn't hear that.
We could tell her she's wrong 1,000 times. She won't believe it until she sees for herself. Harriet needs the chance to learn from her mistakes. Her magic will backfire. Until then, we watch her. And if she does end up threatening the biome, we'll stop her. That sounds ominous.
It sure does. Are you familiar with this group, Rick? The horticulture?
I am not, Bob. This is the first time I'm being introduced to them.
Yeah, so it's this group of four women, and they're like agrochemists and biologists and eugenists and botanists, and their mission, which often takes them astray, is to depopulate the earth and return it to a more pristine state. So they're always tinkering with things to try to put the world better in balance. So the biome that they keep referring to and humanity's place in it is out of whack. And so, their goal is to return it back to a more balanced existence. So they use science to do that. But Harriet here, who is the niece, so the great niece of Augusta Brome, who is the head of horticulture, wants to take it in a radically different direction and just get rid of human beings, right? So that'll solve the problem. And so this is where this conflict is coming from.
Bob, this sounds a lot like a movie recently I saw. Somebody wanted to wipe out the whole time zone. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so we cut to Citrusville, Florida. Bob, how close is Citrusville, Florida to where you live?
Well, I'll tell you, I've looked on the map, Rick. I can't quite seem to find it. It appears to be one of those fake towns, but it sounds like every town in Florida.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we see the moon, gigantic moon in the sky, in the night sky, and then coming up from the depths of the water in the swamp is a very giant sized man thing. And you hear a yell for help, a very loud yell for help. And then you see a man, a Caucasian man, middle-aged, wearing a suit, but you only see the top half of him. The rest you can't see. And he's like, "No, don't touch me. Don't hurt me." And then he looks down, uh, and he's mortified. Don't know how I got here. What's wrong with my body? Where I can't feel my legs. Is she gone? She said she wanted me afraid. Please, she said you'd come. And then Man Thing comes up, and all of a sudden, all of these vines, these roots come out of everywhere and just grab and go into the man. And just it's pretty nasty. And then Harriet shows up. Amazing. Just a few drops of blood in the water, and I catch myself a great white. Then again, you're way more useful than a shark. And Man Thing doesn't mess around. He just goes and he grabs her ankle. I know. If you could talk, you'd ask, why isn't she burning? Really, though, do I look afraid? And there she is looking down at him in the swamp. But Man Thing has other ways to attack, and he comes up and he grabs her and he slams her down, and then she punches him, saying that hurt. But that's okay. Like my grand aunt always said, nothing good comes easy. And then she just rips him apart. Oh, and Bob, what's kind of neat is that when she rips him apart,
Yeah.
like the almost like the brain and the spine come out, and it's attached to those glowing red eyes.
Yeah.
But they look like giant tomatoes.
They do. Yeah. Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, we are totally missing out on some really good sound effects here, Bob. We should go back and you just do the sound effects. Like just start where the Man Thing comes up and he grabs her.
Uh-huh. You mean with the lurch?
Yes. And then
Yeah.
just do the sound effects for the next several
Oh,
panels.
all right. Splump. And then there's a big old chalk. And then the denouement here when she tears him apart is the splash. Yeah,
Very
that's some
nice.
good stuff. Yeah.
But then we get to the tomato eye part, and what does that say?
Oh yeah, the plot.
There you go. Yes. It's exactly what. Uh so then what happens is it just goes into water and then they just kind of shrivel. And then coming out of those eyes is um what do they call those
A dandelion.
well, the dandelion pre-dandelion, right? The ones that the kind of just you blow
Well,
on and the
it's a
little
post. It's a post dandelion. Yeah. Right.
oh, is that
This is
okay.
after it goes to seed, right? And it turns into that fuzzy white stuff that you pick up and you blow on, right? And all
Yeah,
the
and then it
seeds.
just spreads
Yeah.
more dandelions everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom used to be so mad. She's like, "Don't do that! Like you're just getting more dandelions in our yard. Stop blowing that."
I know every mom says that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got yelled at a lot about that.
And then sure enough, they blow away and they start to go off, and then she's just standing there, holding an empty husk of this man thing. So much for unreliable Augusta. Your great niece just skinned the swamp god and took his house. The raw materials are in hand. Time to scale up. The harrowing of Earth starts at sunrise. Next chapter, Bob.
Slash and burn.
And we're in Brooklyn, New York, and it's a beautiful blue, sunny sky. And describe what we're seeing here in the middle of Brooklyn.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like we might be in the shadow of the Brooklyn Bridge here, Rick, and we see this. It looks like Jack and the Beanstalk. You know, remember the
Yeah,
beanstalk,
yeah,
right? It look,
that's a good description.
yeah, it's like this sort of botanical matter that is growing up. It's very gnarly, so it's a lot like maybe a beanstalk, and it's growing up high into the sky, almost above of where the Brooklyn Bridge is. And there's all kinds of people gathered around the base of it. All of them, live streaming their experience for this sudden appearance of whatever this plant life is, taking photos with their smart cameras and posing for Instagram photos. So they don't seem the least bit concerned.
No, they really don't. And they're on the younger side too, you know. And there's a girl saying like, "You seeing this? Wild? Am I right? I heard mushrooms grow overnight, but damn, this is no fungus. Are we live? Look at this thing. First contact, bro. This is first contact." And by touching it, flames. He just bursts into flames. And then the girl next to him who was doing a selfie, she's like, Bobby, hit the floor, dude. Good God, drop and roll. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Bob. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
Two things.
Yeah.
One, if somebody was to catch on fire,
Yeah.
I don't know if my first reaction would be hit the floor, drop and roll. I probably would. I maybe think that like maybe that's something
Stop, drop, and roll.
yeah, like right, like
Right.
I don't know if I would be saying that, but so good for her.
Yeah.
The second thing is he is not on fire. He is fire. There is
Yeah.
fire coming out of him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he's got fire coming out of the orifices, if you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he had some really bad Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there is no dropping and rolling here, buddy. I'm telling you right now. It's bad news.
Did you do stop, drop, and roll in elementary school, Rick?
I remember something about that, but I
Yeah.
don't remember if that was something I did in person or if I watched it on TV.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
I'm familiar with the concept.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I remember doing that in elementary school. I remember we all had to stop, drop, and roll. So
We did allow the stop and get underneath your desk and kiss your ass goodbye.
you did those? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember
Yeah.
those?
I don't know if we ever did any of those. I guess we just were waiting to catch fire.
Oh, okay.
And then we did that. Yeah.
Oh, then he did the stop, drop, and roll.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Then we cut to Wakanda, and we're seeing. I don't know if this is like the capital of Wakanda, but it's the throne building because it's got the big giant Black Panthers, sitting, the statues in front of it. And next to it is one of those beanstalks that looks, very, very tall. And Bob, I don't know about you,
Uh-huh.
but when I saw the Black Panther logo at the top,
Yeah.
and it was like an orange circle with the silhouette of the Black Panther on the side,
Yeah.
I was like, Thundercats, ho! I mean, like, does that not resemble that in
It
some
does.
way?
It does. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just misremembering. I don't know.
Good. That's a good point. Yeah.
And we hear Black Panther's voice as he's talking to his colleagues. Because I think at this time in the Avengers storyline, he is the team leader. Good morning, Avengers. Is everyone on? Always was an early riser, Panther. Reports are coming in, Captain Rogers. Cities worldwide woke up to massive vegetable growth of an unknown origin. Our news feeds show wave in action in Manila, Arrow in Beijing, even Krakoa has a growth. Where's Krakoa, Bob?
Well, it's a sentient island, Rick. So I think it started off in the Pacific. I'm not sure if it's moved around a bit though.
And standing next to Black Panther is his sister Shuri, and he's talking to various images on his screens to the various Avengers. We need to respond now. Ghost Rider is already local to Los Angeles. Iron Man and Captain Marvel are closest to Sydney. Blade, you know London. Thor can be there in seconds. And then they all take off. But then he stops and says, and Captain America, Hulk will join you in New York. And Shuri says, we're assessing the Wakanda growth, but be on your guard. Live video shows people touching the growths are catching fire. And then we cut to Avengers Mountain, and Hulk, which is basically She-Hulk, but they're just referencing her as Hulk, is on her comm in her ear, and she says, "Big fire tree, not problem, Shuri. Hulk no solution. Find bigger axe." And apparently, this is a time period where She-Hulk is carrying around an axe. And then we cut to London, and we see Thor and Blade there looking at a beanstalk next to Big Ben. Pity you cannot watch as Mjolnir fells this dread monolith, Hulk. Flirt later, Thor. No fires here yet, people, but I smell blood magic. We cut to Sydney, and there's Iron Man and Captain Marvel going to, what is that famous complex in Australia, in
It's
Sydney?
the Sydney Opera House, Rick.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a really big beanstalk next to that. It's dwarfing it. And Iron Man responds to Blade. You smell blood on everything, Blade. The tower's core is heating up, Tony. This is going to escalate. Anything constructive from the fire guy? We cut to Los Angeles, and the fire guy he's referencing is Ghost Rider. I tried killing the burn here, Iron Man, but whatever's causing it isn't hellish. And Black Panther responds, while the Wakanda growth has not yet burned us, Ryder. Interesting. And Cap shows up in Brooklyn, and he sees that young girl who was telling her friend Bobby to drop and roll. Captain America? What's happening? Better get to safety, ma'am. From what I just heard, this is about to get worse. And what happens, Bob?
There's a big splort, Rick. And when the splort happens, all these winged, knobby-headed sort of bats emerge from the top of the beanstalk, which had these sort of knobby growths on it. And apparently they burst open, almost like when you step on a mushroom and the spores of the fungus emerge in a cloud of smaller particles. But these things have wings.
Bob, how often do you step on mushrooms?
Oh, any chance I get.
Seriously? I don't think I've ever stepped on a mushroom.
Really? Oh, it's great.
No.
It's great fun. I love mushrooms.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna do a whole class on mycology this fall. But
Hmm.
so especially those round ones, you step on those bad boys when they're dry, and yeah, they
That just seems mean.
no, that's how they propagate. That's how they propagate their spores to grow new mushrooms.
So you're doing a service
We
then by
are.
crushing mushrooms.
We really, really are. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
welcome.
this spore that you're talking about, the bat, if you will, lands on the shoulders of a guy, and he starts to catch fire. But Cap throws his shield, cutting the bat off of his back, and the guy takes his jacket, which was on fire, and he flings it off of him. And then Cap starts punching all these flying, and we're calling them bats because they look kind of like bats, like big bats, scary looking bats,
Mm-hmm.
with these spore heads. But Cap's just attacking them. Everyone inside. I'll hold the line. And then we hear She-Hulk or Hulk, tiny wighead, have nice neighborhood. For Hulk to smash. And she starts hitting it. Thanks for having my back, Hulk. Where's your axe? Bat more fun. Then by all means, swing away. And there she is, just using a bat to take the heads off these bats, and Cap's using his shield to do the same. You know, that kind of reminds me of the first Avengers movie when Cap and Hulk are fighting those aliens,
Uh-huh.
and then he turns to Hulk and says, "Hulk, smash." And then he, right?
Yeah,
Kind of
great
has that
scene.
feeling, right?
Yeah, right.
And then as Cap's fighting with his shield, all of a sudden one of those spores hits it, and it increases in volume and starts to spread out over his shield. And he's like, Hulk, it's not just the drones, the seeds. They're and what happened, Bob?
Oh my God. It's like in an instant, Cap and his shield are completely covered with these fibrous vines now that have he looks like a mummy, for crying out loud, Rick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, and now he's completely solid and still. And Hulk looks at him. Team, listen. Weeds eat tiny winghead. More burn. More mushroom birds. What? Repeat, Hulk. What happened to Captain America? What do you mean? You not listen, King Cat. No winghead mean. More for Hulk. And then she smiles and raises her bat. But we cut to a close-up of Captain America with his eyes closed. He's leaning back and his head's resting in water. And he's waking up, and he's in the middle of a swamp. But it's nighttime. It's dark out. What? Where am I? No noise. No wind. Sure has a smell, though. And then he yells out to the wide open. If you brought me here, you want me here. So let's have it. Nothing. I'm alone. Captain America's always alone. There's no one like him, no matter how hard they try. Who's there? Your skeletons. How could you forget after how bad they hurt us? And then coming out of the shadows, we see trying to replace you. Who is it, Bob?
OMG, Rick. This was a shock, right? So we've got Frank Simpson, Nuke. We have William Burnside, right?
Give me a red.
What's that?
Give me a red.
we got Clint McIntyre, Protocide. And we have the anti-cap.
Wow. These are all 4 characters who they tried to make when Steve went into hibernation. They were like, well, we need new super soldiers. And they tried making super soldiers and failed. And these are all failed experiments in one way or another, and who have turned evil. And they're all coming out of the shadows to attack our Cap. I know these men. Whatever this is, they don't scare me. Don't we, Rogers? After how hard you tried to forget us? William Burnside, Frank Simpson, Nuke, the anti-Captain America, and Clinton McIntyre, Protocide. I never forgot. Maybe, but you'll never know how he suffered unless we show you. And they rip the mask off his face and knock him down. And Protocide has his boot on his head. I've always hated what was done to people in my name. But if you don't think I know pain, you don't know a damn thing about wearing this uniform. How could I? Erskine's shoddy test serum killed me so you could live. Ready to trade? I won't beg, McIntyre. You sure? Get away from him! And there's some guy that comes and pushes Protocide away. And that gives Cap the opportunity to grab Protocide's shield. And how would you describe Protocide's shield, Bob?
Well, it's triangular shape, right? And so it's got a pointed end to it down at the end of where the single star is, the blue part with the single star, and then but the other end, the top of the triangle, has 2 pointed parts to it, with a sort of a V shape in the middle of it. So it really has 3 like stabbing edges on the shield.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
And he uses it to hit the anti-Cap. Appreciate the help, stranger. Big mistake, Professor. Should have stayed down there where you belong. And Protocide starts punching this guy who looks kind of like a civilian, right?
Yeah, he's just wearing a shirt and pants, man.
Yeah. And Cap pushes away one and hits the other with his shield, knocking Nuke out. Hey, McIntyre, you dropped this. And then we look, and the other 3 Caps are all downed, but Steve, with his mask off, is holding the Protocide's sharp shield. And then we cut to status of what's going on with the Avengers. So Black Panther asks, the status, Hulk? Hulk's fire tree still spitting out mushroom birds, King Cat. You say your tree no burn you? This is really hard to read.
I know it is, isn't it?
Yeah. What is this next? Who's this next
This
person?
is Ghost Rider, I think.
Oh, showing up in his car.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your secret, T'Challa? I'd be lucky to reach my tower through these drones. I didn't know Ghost Rider had a tower. Then we cut to London. The Horde rallies around our monolith with one mind, but hold strong, Rider. They will be slowed. And Blade doesn't agree. Not sure about one mind, but they've damn well got one goal. Guarding the groves, it's all they seem to care about. Can't remember the last time I was in public and not the object of worship. And Carol Danvers responds, they're not worshiping the towers, Tony. It's the sun. Chapter 3.
Breathing fire.
Fire dust not safe. Humans need run. And they're running away, but what's happening is they're breathing in some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's like a cloud. That's like this greenish spore-filled cloud is now being emitted by these towers of growth.
Hulk no burn, but humans soft. Humans need not breathe, but he does breathe, and once it goes into his body, he catches on fire. Cut back to Citrusville, Florida, And who is it, Bob?
It's the harrower.
Yeah. And it's would you say that's sunrise or sunset?
It looks to be a sunrise, but I don't know.
I know you're watching, and I'll tell you, this feels better than I expected. And then there's a mosquito she catches midair. It's a pretty damn big one, too.
Sure is. Yeah.
What? You didn't think I'd notice you there? Biofusion? Stick around, stud. Since the spellification, I notice it all. If it lives, it's putty in my hands. You, that branch, are a worldwide lichen network connecting pillars of Man-Thing's caustic flesh. Just you watch. A strange, beautiful hybrid like you? Who knows? Once I clear the board, in a few billion years, maybe you'll be in charge. So Black Panther is now going up the stalk, and he's got a contraption in his hand as his soldiers are fighting the bats there. This is Black Panther on the surface of the Wakandan growth. It hasn't pollinated yet, and I may know why. Sunlight. Captain Marvel noticed it first. Blade's blood magic theory is compelling, but there is science at play as well. The first growths to burst had seen the most sun. I've placed a device to block the light from reaching our growth. Wakanda is stable. As for why we haven't been burned, I am coming to Brooklyn to test a theory. And we cut to London, and Thor's there, whipping his hammer in a circle, creating a storm. Test quickly, Panther. These blazing clouds challenge even my storms. Each victim's a grenade. Everyone who inhales the pollen coughs out a bigger cloud. They're eating my artillery. Feeling a bit impotent here. Any strong military types got a blunt solution? You know me, Tony. Rip it off, throw it into space, and count this round for field expediency. And we cut back to Cap. Remember, he was inside that. That's he's inside somewhere, right? And he's talking to the civilian. It's okay, Captain America. They're gone. Good to see not everyone here's got a grudge. I may not be out for your throat, but I owe you for my fair share of grief. You still stepped up when it counted. I knew the other men, but you've got me at a loss. And he puts out his hand to shake. Me? And the guy doesn't shake, he doesn't reach for Cap's hand. Instead, he puts it behind his neck. I'm Dr. Ted Salas. Bob, who's Dr. Ted Salas?
He's the guy who became the Man-Thing.
Yeah. And this is the smallest part of the monster I became. It's all that's left of the Man-Thing's consciousness. And we're inside it. It's been just me here, screaming in silence for decades, trapped with my worst fears. Facing you has always been one of my worst nightmares. So I have to know. Are you another vision? Or are you real? Am I finally not alone? And as they're talking, we're seeing the Avengers fighting against the opponent here. I'm real, and the Avengers know the Man-Thing. If you are the creature, why fear me? Why bring me here while you attack the rest of the world? I've been buried here, too deep to control the Man-Thing. I could only watch him act out on instinct, until a woman with glowing scars tore his flesh from his soul, me. His body doesn't work like that, but magic does the impossible. The trauma freed me just in time to see her turn Man-Thing into a doomsday weapon. The seeds that brought you here, those were Man-Thing's last act before he lost control. But why bring you? You're the last person I'd want to see. Me? Why? Because, Cap, the SO2 serum that turned me into Man-Thing was an attempt to recreate you. The car crash, the swamp, none of it would have happened if I didn't take that job. You're the reason I've sat trapped in this nightmare, hopeless, for years. As the creature I became set people ablaze because of fear. So this doomsday weapon is a chemical weapon. Can you stop it? Not for sure. Man-Thing was attacked by someone supernatural. I felt her ripping at his flesh. With skills like that, there's no limit to how she could weaponize his corpse. And then, as I mentioned before, all during this, the Avengers are battling, and we see that Black Panther shows up to where Cap's been mummified inside those vines. The vines have Captain America, but he is also unburned. I've examined ER reports from the affected cities. They show a unique chemical burn, commonly seen in the Florida Everglades, home to the Man-Thing. This hints at the fire's cause, something my armies and Captain America have both learned to ignore. And then Iron Man is talking with Captain Marvel as people are catching fire, and he sees, all these instances over the globe. Fear is contagious, T'Challa. It'll be hard to sell people on calm when they're popping like fireworks. How can we stop people from being afraid? It's natural, even when the world's not burning. How do we beat this? How can any of us fight an emotion? And as she's talking, Bob, little spores are going into her as she's breathing them in. And then what happens?
Captain Marvel ignites.
She does. She's like the Human Torch. Why the hell would you burn? You've never minded a little bonfire. It's not the fire, Tony. I'm afraid of not helping these people. So save your flame retardant for them. I can take the heat.
Yeah.
And cutting back to the two talking, Cap and Solace. You and I, we're stuck inside a few dying plant cells. Whatever she's doing out there is beyond me. I've been trapped as the world keeps turning, Professor Solace. I know how hard it can be. But this is your chance, Solace. You said Man-Thing acts on instinct. Maybe he brought me here to get your help. Help, Rogers. Good Lord. Weren't you listening? Coming back to the world can be overwhelming. You feel like there's no way you'll fit back in. You wonder how you could still be relevant, how you could still matter. But everyone matters. And he puts his hand on his shoulder and smiles. People think the Man-Thing is a myth at best, a monster at worst. Help me change that, Professor. Help me stop the world from burning. And he just clenches his fists. Please, Rogers, I told you I can't help. Don't ask me to do that. Lives are at stake, Solace. You think I don't know? I've been locked away in the deepest, darkest part of the Man-Thing for a reason. You created the serum. I believe you can find a way to counteract its effects. If you get off your high horse for even a second, you'd see I'm not who you think I am. I wasn't trying to remake the super soldier serum to help the world. I was trying to help myself and my family. I can't do this. I've never understood the formula because I didn't create it. Dun, dun, dun.
What?
So, he didn't create the formula that turned himself into Man-Thing?
Ooh.
That's a twist.
That is a twist on the established story, right?
Yeah. And for those who want to see the next part of the story, Spider-Man, Curse of the Man-Thing one shot is the second part. But we're going to stop here because that's where Cap stops. Bob, what'd you think of the story?
It's actually pretty good, Rick. Having read this first issue, I'm eager to read the next issue and to finish the story. So, I mean, I think that's probably the mark of a pretty good tale. If it sucks you in enough that you want to go and buy the next issue.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I thought it was pretty good.
Okay. I'm not that familiar with Man-Thing. I can't recall too many Man-Thing stories that I've read over the years. So I knew about him, but I didn't know his backstory. I didn't know how he became the Man-Thing. So I don't know if the origin, right, that that is kind of explained in the beginning, right, of how he became, and now him refuting that uh, is a big twist. I'm going to assume it is.
Yeah.
But what's your familiarity with the character?
Well, I mean, I'm not overly familiar. I mean, I have like, I did go back and read his origin story, so I know that that's what he was tasked with. And first, he was tasked with this SO2, which was sort of a precursor on the way to trying to replicate the super soldier serum. And this was sort of like the SO2 was a serum that would basically ward off the effects of any like biotoxin. And so he was working on that, and it was part of this research to try to replicate. And he worked with who's the lizard guy?
The
Parker,
lizard?
yeah, the lizard. I can't remember the doctor's name. Anyway, they were buddies and they worked together.
Lefty.
Yeah. So anyway, and then his wife got AIM involved, and that's the story. So but it seemed to me from my understanding of the origin story is that he had a much bigger role in pioneering this technology and trying to replicate it. So and this is suggesting that maybe he didn't. So I'd be interested to see in the next issues what sort of unfolds here. But
yeah, you know what I'm interested too is we're going to have the writer on next episode. So there's a few questions I have for Steve about this. Like, what was the impetus behind this story that, did he see the connection with the Man Thing, with the secret, super soldier secret, sorry, the super soldier serum?
yeah.
And did he like, I think that would make an interesting story, and getting Cap and him together to kind of talk about it. So I want to ask him about that. And I also want to ask about, this kind of reminds me of Empire Strikes Back, where Yoda says, don't go into the tree.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're going to see, whatever you see, whatever vision you see. And Luke goes in there.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Empire Strike Back.
Yeah.
He goes in there and he sees Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then, he strikes him down with the lightsaber, and then Darth Vader's mask opens up and it's Luke's face.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so this had a little feeling of that, right? It had a feeling of, here he is in the swamp with the trees and all that, like Dagobah, right?
Yeah.
And he's there, and his own face is coming at him.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So you see Burnside and so on. So I want to talk to him about, what made him think about previous versions of the super soldier, that came in here. So I can't wait to talk to the writer about that.
Yeah. And that's very sophisticated and deep. And I'm really, I'm looking forward to hearing his answer. I just want to know if he came up with Tiny Winghead.
Yeah.
Because I can't let that one go now. Tiny Winghead. I like that.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right, Bob, I go first this time.
All right.
You went first last time. So I'm going to go with my favorite panel, and I'm going to go, at least on my copy, it's page 22.
Okay.
And that is the final panel. And that's where Steve is standing there with his mask off, holding Protoside's shield with the downed Captain America's and so on behind him. And he goes, "Hey, McIntyre, you dropped this." That's badass.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Good selection. I like that. He's got a great look on his face too. It's well done.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you have a favorite panel?
I'm going to have to go with that 3/4 splash 2 pages earlier, Rick, with the 4 of them coming at him, trying to replace you with Burnside and Simpson and McIntyre and the anti-cap. So I think that's pretty cool. And of course we see Nuke a lot, and Burnside has popped up here and again, and we did an episode with Protoside's origin, right?
Did we?
Did we?
I don't think we did.
Maybe we didn't do the origin.
But I know we talked about we never. I don't think we did anything with Protoside.
Really?
Yeah, we had Dan Jurgens on the show.
I know we talked
back
about
in
Protoside.
episode 50, and we talked about actually no, when did we had Dan Jurgens on episode 100? That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I know we talked to him about Prototype, but I don't think we ever.
I thought we did. Maybe we should definitely do that annual then. That does his origin.
Oh man, I watch. I'm probably forgot. I'm pulling a Bob.
I thought we did, because he battles Protocide, and there's a little bit of ambiguity at the end where the Protocide rescues Cap and pulls him up from that flaming pit, and then he disappears. And the next thing we see Protocide sort of like disappearing in a truck or something on the highway.
I don't think we did. I don't think we did. I think we did
Maybe.
the research to talk to Dan about it, because obviously Protocide was a character he created.
Yeah.
And you know, we did ask, like, you know, no one done anything with Protocide since you left the book.
Well, there you go.
Well,
Someone
now someone did right now, right?
Yeah. So we should definitely like consider going back and I think they covered his origin in like maybe it was a 2000 annual.
Yeah, but I think the reason we haven't done it because it's a long story.
Yeah.
And it may have to be like one of those long tail stories.
Yeah, maybe.
You know,
another thing is we should really think about this anti-Cap story. I know it was the first part of that 14 issue with Captain America and Falcon 14 issue run with Priest and Sears.
Yeah.
Kind of a dark story.
Yeah.
But you know, interesting story too. So, but we don't hear much about the anti-Cap. So it was interesting that that Orlando brought Clint and the anti-Cap back for this subconscious, delving into Steve's subconscious. But anyway, I love that. I love this page. I love this splash, because he really does these three characters well.
Yep. What are you putting on a t-shirt, Bob?
I think I'm gonna have to go with I believe it's let me see, it's in chapter 2 and it's page 8 page 10. Oh yeah, it's the one where he is lecturing, not lecturing, I should say. That's hard, but he's talking to Dr. Ted Salas, and he tells Ted, but everybody matters. I like that. And so, I think I'd like to have that on a shirt just to remind everybody they matter.
Aw,
yeah.
That's sweet, Bob.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, I'm not going sweet, Bob. I'm going page 16. And that is when Cap shows up to Brooklyn and he throws his shield. And the guy has the flaming jacket that he's ripping off. But the next panel, big panel of Cap punching these really nasty looking bats. And he's punching with the right hook, or uppercut, I should say. And he's got a shield behind him, as he's kind of moving with his body. So it's a really cool flow. And he says, everyone inside, I'll hold the line.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a pretty cool one to put on a shirt.
That is a pretty good one to put on a shirt. Absolutely. I like that. And what do you got for your time capsule, Rick?
Bob, just once, I'd like you to say it the right way.
What's the right way?
You know how to say capsule.
Capsule?
Yes. Yes, Bob. Emphasis on the cap.
All right. Are we gonna, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this right now?
I want to hear it from you, Bob.
All right. Because I do have, I want to, there's something that you pronounce that's a little bit off in my mind.
No, Bob, this is not about pronouncing it right or wrong. This is about pronouncing it the way we do it on the show, because it's time capsule, right? Because it's Cap.
I've been here for 203 episodes. I didn't realize that we were calling it a time capsule.
What? Are you kidding me? I've even said it like that a million times. I'm like, idea. Bob, what do you want to have on your time capsule? You've never
picked up on that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll be ready for episode 204. So, Rick, what would you like to see in your time? What would you like to see in your time capsule, Rick?
I'm glad you asked, Bob. Uh, I'm going to go with the first page in chapter 1, where we get to see Harriet. It's the introduction of Harriet. This is the first appearance of Harriet. So that's important. It's monumental. It goes in a time capsule because, someday MCU is going to run out of stories and they're going to come here and they're going to go, we need a Man Thing story.
Yeah.
And then they're going to use Harriet. And then all the speculators out there are going to be like, when was the first appearance of Harriet? And then we're going to be like, here you go.
There you go. Yeah. I know the like the horticulture folks, believe it or not, this is not their first appearance, right? They have been in other stories. I think their first appearance was like in an X-Men story.
Mm.
Actually, X-Men Volume 5, number 3 was the first appearance of the horticulture. So, for
okay.
folks who want to go back and, plumb that origin story, go check that out. So I had a hard time coming up with a time capsule for this one, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided to go with Citrusville. And I'll tell you why, because, there was a time in Florida, and presumably when was it Savage Tales #1 when Man-Thing first premiered, made his first appearance, way back when. The idea that there were places like Citrusville in Florida were, that was probably accurate. But there's no longer places like Citrusville in Florida. In fact, the citrus industry down here is a shadow of what it once was. So I think the idea of one of the other things, I looked into Citrusville because I was interested, like, what was it based on a real place? And of course it wasn't. It's just based on every place in Florida. But there was I think it was, that Max series of Marvel books.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Man-Thing Max.
Was there?
Yeah.
Ooh, I bet there was.
And actually, the Man-Thing was a bit of a bit character, like a supporting character. It only showed up toward the end of the story. And it was actually about a stripper and I'm sorry, an adult entertainment dancer. And she danced at a gentleman's club called the Juicy Orange in Citrusville. So I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah.
I love, in case he catches you reading this stuff, it's for research.
Yes.
All right. Now, Bob, I can't let it go. What is it that I say
I'm not
incorrectly?
doing it. No, I'm saving it. I'm saving it for future use.
I do it fairly frequently.
Yeah, fairly frequently. So, but I'm going to save that card, my get out of jail card for later use.
Now I'm going to be so self-conscious on every word I say now. That's not fair. It's going to be like if I just knew the word, I'd be like, okay, well, that word's coming up and I'll say it the right way. But now I'm self-conscious of every word I say.
I don't want to put you in that position. That's not fair, Rick. So I will tell you, it's you pronounce monster, Munster.
I do not.
You do. I always think of Herman Munster when you pronounce monster, but
I say Munster.
You say Munster, yes.
Monster.
Yeah, but you say Munster.
Munster.
Yeah.
I guess I do, don't I?
Yeah, and it always cracks me up a little because I think, oh, that's cute. It's like Herman Munster and the Munsters. So
Munster.
Yeah.
Like the cheese.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's too funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will keep that in my mind. Thank you for sparing me that stress.
Yeah. All right. Don't change though, because I enjoy it.
I don't think I could if I wanted to.
Yeah, just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. I'm glad we did this one and looking forward to this and also the other thing too, cool about talking with Steve Orlando next week is that he's the writer of a new Avengers series coming out called Avengers Assemble, and it stars Captain America putting together a new team. So we thought it would be great to have Steve on to kind of talk about it and get people kind of excited about it because it does come out, I think, in a few weeks. Anyway, so Steve Orlando next episode.
Excellent. Can't wait for it. Can't wait to talk about this series. Can't wait to finish reading this series so I can ask him some informed questions.
Sounds good. All right. He's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbanis. And thank you very much for rating, reviewing, subscribing wherever you listen. If you're on YouTube, smash that thumbs up button. We really do appreciate it. And if you leave comments, we will try to address them here. And also, if you are a patron of the show, whether that is at the shield slinger level or the super soldier level, you get to ask a question for our guests. And so we've got some questions coming in for next week and can't wait for that. All right. As always, thank you for listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.